In a world filled with constant judgment and negativity, it's easy to let criticism get under our skin. Whether it's from colleagues, friends, or even strangers, harsh words can have a powerful effect on our self-esteem and peace of mind. But what if there's a better way to handle it? What if, instead of letting criticism control our emotions, we could rise above it with strength and wisdom? In this video, we're diving deep into how to handle constant criticism using Stoic philosophy. You'll learn how to transform criticism into an opportunity for growth and how to protect your inner peace. So, let's get started and uncover how we can take control of our reactions and live with greater resilience. 1. The urge to control. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to find ourselves trying to control everything around us, our relationships, our work, even the people in our lives. We often think that by controlling others, we can protect ourselves or find peace. But Stoicism teaches us that the real power lies not in controlling others, but in mastering ourselves. Think about it, when you try to control someone else's actions, you only end up draining your own energy, constantly managing their behaviors. This isn't control, it's fear disguised as strength. Take, for example, a partner who constantly monitors every move you make, insisting on knowing where you are, who you're with, and what you're doing. At first, it might seem like care or love, but in reality, it's insecurity. A person who feels the need to control often fears something they cannot understand or trust. Instead of embracing vulnerability and trusting, they push you away with their possessiveness. This isn't love, it's fear holding both of you captive. Stoicism invites us to challenge this impulse. True strength, according to the Stoics, isn't about imposing our will on others. It's about being able to choose our responses, to stay calm and centered, regardless of what's happening around us. Instead of trying to control someone's actions or opinions, we focus on mastering our own emotions. When we can control how we react, we create space for healthier relationships where both people are free to be themselves. Imagine walking into a situation where you've been hurt by someone's words or actions. The initial instinct is to react, to lash out or to try and control the situation. But Stoicism teaches us to pause, breathe, and then choose a measured response. In those moments of emotional charge, we learn that we are in control of our own peace, and we don't need to fight to maintain it. Our emotions don't define us unless we let them. Ultimately, when we stop trying to control others and focus on mastering ourselves, we free ourselves from unnecessary stress. This inner strength allows us to build authentic, trusting relationships. The more we trust ourselves, the less we need to control those around us. The journey of Stoicism isn't about perfection, but about understanding that we hold the power to control our own actions, thoughts, and reactions, leading us to a life of inner peace and emotional freedom. 2. The mask of charm. Charm is a powerful tool. It can open doors, build connections, and make us feel seen and appreciated. But sometimes, behind that warm smile or flattering compliment, there's a hidden agenda. We've all met someone who seems too good to be true, someone who showers us with kindness, only to later ask for favors or manipulate situations to their benefit. Stoicism teaches us to see beyond this charm, encouraging us to trust not just appearances, but the deeper actions that reveal true intentions. Think about a time when you met someone who charmed their way into your life. They were attentive, always there when you needed them, and seemed genuinely interested in your well-being. But over time, you realized that their help came with strings attached. Maybe they wanted something in return, or perhaps they expected you to owe them in some way. This is the mask of charm, where kindness and care are used as tools for control. Stoicism teaches us that while charm itself isn't inherently bad, it becomes problematic when it's used to manipulate or deceive. According to Stoic philosophy, we must learn to look beyond superficial appearances. True wisdom comes from observing people's actions over time, not just the immediate sweetness they show. Someone who is constantly flattering you may be doing so not because they genuinely care, but because they want something. This is a tough lesson, but it's necessary for maintaining integrity and emotional balance. As the Stoics teach, we should not let others' charm determine our sense of self-worth or sway our decisions. Take, for instance, a colleague who always goes out of their way to help others, offering assistance with a smile. At first, this might seem like a kind gesture, but over time, you notice that they're always the first to ask for something in return. Maybe it's a favor or a bit of gossip to use in their own favor. When we start to recognize this pattern, we understand that their charm is a strategic move, not an act of genuine care. Stoicism advises us to remain vigilant and not let charm cloud our judgment. Ultimately, Stoicism encourages us to look past charm and focus on the substance of people's character. When we base our relationships on true trust and understanding, we no longer fall for superficial gestures. Instead of being swayed by empty words, we learn to seek out actions that align with values of honesty and integrity. By doing this, we free ourselves from the manipulation of others, embracing more authentic and meaningful connections. 3. The absence of empathy. Empathy is the cornerstone of meaningful relationships and a healthy society. It's the ability to understand and share the feelings of others, to recognize their pain or joy, and to act with care. However, some individuals lack this essential quality. They are so caught up in their own needs and desires that they overlook the well-being of those around them. In these cases, their actions, whether deliberate or unconscious, often lead to harm and emotional distress. Stoicism teaches us to stay grounded and evaluate such situations objectively, so we don't fall victim to manipulation or indifference. Imagine, for instance, a CEO who remains indifferent to an employee facing a personal crisis. Maybe that employee is dealing with a sick relative or going through a tough time, yet the CEO continues to demand long hours or rejects requests for time off, showing no understanding of the employee's emotional burden. This lack of empathy can be devastating, not only for the individual affected but also for the overall work environment. In this situation, Stoicism calls us to pause and reflect: is this behavior truly something within our control to change, or is it simply the result of another's inability to empathize? The Stoic answer is clear: we must not let someone else's lack of empathy dictate our own emotional state. By practicing Stoicism, we learn to detach our emotions from the actions of others. We recognize that we can't control how others feel or react, but we can control how we respond. When faced with someone's emotional insensitivity, the Stoic approach is to acknowledge the situation without letting it trigger an emotional response. We assess it with clarity and compassion, understanding that their actions reflect their limitations, not our worth. In doing so, we protect our peace of mind, choosing not to let their lack of empathy affect us. This doesn't mean we ignore the situation or accept harmful behavior passively. Stoicism encourages us to remain true to our values that include compassion and respect for others. In the case of the CEO and the employee, the Stoic approach might involve calmly addressing the issue with a clear and measured response. Perhaps the employee needs to have an honest conversation with the CEO, explaining their situation and advocating for themselves. This approach aligns with Stoicism's emphasis on being assertive and taking responsibility for our own reactions while maintaining empathy for ourselves and others. Ultimately, the Stoic view teaches us that while we cannot change others, we can control our own actions and responses. In the face of a lack of empathy, we focus on staying true to our values of compassion, understanding, and emotional resilience. By doing so, we preserve our integrity and avoid falling into the traps of bitterness or emotional manipulation. 4. The web of lies. In our journey through life, we inevitably encounter individuals who distort the truth to suit their needs. Pathological liars are experts at manipulating the facts, twisting narratives, and creating illusions to gain control or evade responsibility. These individuals thrive on deceit, using lies as a tool to advance their personal agenda, often at the expense of others. The harm they cause isn't just in the lies themselves, but in the emotional confusion they create. Stoicism, however, offers us a powerful antidote, teaching us to respond to lies not with anger or frustration, but with calmness, objectivity, and clarity. When faced with lies, it's easy to feel betrayed or hurt. After all, lies break trust, and trust is the foundation of any meaningful relationship, whether personal or professional. However, Stoicism reminds us that we can't control the actions of others, but we can control our response. Rather than reacting impulsively to a lie with anger or frustration, Stoic philosophy advises us to pause, take a deep breath, and assess the situation objectively. This response doesn't mean we accept the lie, but instead, we avoid letting it disturb our inner peace. Take, for example, a scenario at work where a colleague consistently embellishes their accomplishments or shifts blame onto others to avoid taking responsibility. Instead of reacting emotionally, becoming angry, resentful, or defensive, Stoicism urges us to step back and evaluate the situation with a clear mind. We might choose to calmly confront the individual, pointing out the discrepancies without resorting to accusations or hostility. By staying composed, we protect our own integrity and avoid becoming entangled in the web of deceit. In these moments, Stoicism teaches us to stay vigilant, maintaining a strong sense of self-awareness. Lies can easily cloud our judgment, but when we respond with rationality, we regain control of the situation. We become less vulnerable to manipulation because we recognize the lies for what they are and don't let them dictate our emotions. Instead, we uphold our values of honesty, integrity, and truth. Ultimately, the Stoic approach is not about passively accepting lies but about maintaining our emotional composure and objectivity in the face of deceit. By doing so, we protect our integrity and avoid the emotional entanglement that lies often bring. Stoicism empowers us to navigate life's challenges with clarity, preserving our inner peace and staying true to our values, no matter what others may say or do. 5. Mastery of manipulation. Manipulation is a subtle and dangerous tool used by some to dominate and control others. These individuals often disguise their true intentions behind a facade of kindness, making it difficult to see their manipulation for what it is. They might appear as helpful or caring, yet their ultimate goal is to bend others to their will, using charm and deceit to achieve their personal gains. Stoic philosophy, however, provides a powerful shield against such tactics by encouraging self-awareness, discernment, and the cultivation of virtue. When dealing with manipulative people, it's easy to get lost in their charm or feel guilty for questioning their motives. This is where Stoicism steps in, reminding us to focus on developing the inner strength to see through false kindness. It teaches us that the only thing we can control in any situation is our own actions, reactions, and thoughts. By mastering ourselves and trusting our instincts, we can recognize manipulation when it arises and respond wisely, without being swayed by emotional entanglements. Consider, for example, a colleague who offers to help with your work, only to later use that favor as leverage to make unreasonable demands of you. Initially, their kindness might seem genuine, but as you reflect on their past behavior and motives, you might begin to see patterns of control. In this case, the Stoic approach is to stay grounded in your values and focus on what truly matters, maintaining your integrity. Rather than succumbing to guilt or emotional pressure, you can kindly set boundaries, while maintaining compassion for the person, but without allowing them to manipulate you. The key to dealing with manipulation, as taught by Stoic philosophers, is awareness. We must be able to discern when someone is trying to manipulate us and, instead of reacting with defensiveness or anger, respond with calm judgment. The Stoic virtues of wisdom, courage, and self-discipline empower us to navigate relationships with clarity and strength. When we know who we are, what we stand for, and where we draw the line, manipulation loses its power. Ultimately, Stoicism teaches us to protect our peace and well-being by focusing on virtue and courage in the face of manipulation. By mastering ourselves and developing the ability to discern false kindness from genuine care, we can navigate relationships with integrity and avoid the emotional toll of manipulation. Through this self-awareness, we are free to build healthier, more authentic connections, rooted in respect and truth. 6. Fakeness in communication. In a world where first impressions often dictate relationships, it's easy to be swayed by overly friendly or seemingly caring behavior. Some individuals, however, use charm as a mask to conceal their true motives. Their sweetness is not always a reflection of genuine kindness but a tactic to gain control, manipulate, or further their own agenda. These people may present themselves as the epitome of generosity, offering help and kindness, but beneath the surface, their intentions are far from selfless. Stoicism, however, offers us the wisdom to navigate such interactions with discernment and clarity. It teaches us to look beyond the surface and observe the consistency, or lack thereof, between a person's words and actions. A kind gesture may seem harmless, but if it's accompanied by manipulation or a hidden agenda, it can be a red flag. For example, someone may offer their assistance with a project, but when the time comes to deliver, they subtly place demands on you, expecting something in return. Or, a seemingly caring colleague may constantly shower you with praise, but their behavior shifts when they need to benefit from you in return. Stoicism encourages us to stay true to our values of sincerity, transparency, and integrity. By practicing mindfulness, we become more attuned to inconsistencies in people's words and actions. If someone is too eager to please without clear motives or if their kindness is followed by subtle demands, we can begin to question their true intentions. Instead of allowing ourselves to be swayed by false kindness, Stoicism teaches us to focus on virtue and personal strength, responding with patience, clarity, and a calm resolve. In this way, we can protect ourselves from those who seek to manipulate and control us under the guise of friendliness. By fostering awareness and discernment, we become more capable of maintaining genuine, transparent relationships while guarding ourselves against deceit. Just as Stoicism urges us to cultivate our own inner strength, we learn to navigate the complexities of human behavior with wisdom, ensuring that we protect our peace and preserve our integrity. 7. Habit of blaming others. One of the most telling traits of malicious individuals is their tendency to avoid taking responsibility for their actions. Instead of owning up to their mistakes, they shift the blame onto others or external circumstances. This behavior can be seen in both personal and professional settings, where someone refuses to accept the consequences of their actions and instead points fingers to protect their ego or hide their shortcomings. For example, imagine a colleague who constantly fails to meet deadlines but never acknowledges their lack of effort. Instead, they blame the team, the workload, or even the lack of resources, never once considering their role in the problem. Stoicism, on the other hand, teaches us to adopt a mindset of personal accountability. It encourages us to reflect on our own actions, regardless of how challenging or uncomfortable that might be. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus wisely said, we are disturbed not by what happens to us, but by our thoughts about what happens to us. By focusing on how we react and taking responsibility for our actions, we empower ourselves to grow, learn, and improve. When we own our mistakes, we are not only accepting reality but also taking control of our own narrative. For example, when something goes wrong, instead of blaming others, we can ask ourselves, what could I have done differently? This simple shift in perspective opens the door to self-improvement and greater resilience. By recognizing our role in situations, we can work toward solutions rather than dwelling in blame, ultimately fostering a sense of inner strength and growth. In relationships, whether personal or professional, taking responsibility for our actions helps build trust and accountability. It shows that we are committed to doing our part and improving ourselves for the greater good. The Stoic approach doesn't absolve us from facing difficult truths, but rather, it encourages us to embrace them as opportunities for growth and self-mastery. When we take responsibility, we not only free ourselves from the trap of blame but also cultivate the mental fortitude needed to navigate life's challenges with grace and wisdom. 8. Abuse of power. The abuse of power is one of the most destructive behaviors a person can engage in. Whether it's in a workplace, a relationship, or any position of authority, some individuals exploit their power to manipulate, control, or harm others. They may use their position to belittle those beneath them, take advantage of others' vulnerabilities, or impose unfair rules and expectations for their own gain. Think about a manager who uses their influence to make others feel inferior, or a leader who makes decisions solely for personal gain, without considering the well-being of their team or community. This kind of abuse not only erodes trust but also fosters resentment and disconnection. Stoicism teaches us that true power lies in using it wisely and ethically, in service of the greater good. The Stoics, particularly philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, believed that power should never be used to manipulate or harm others, but rather to improve the lives of those around us. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the responsibility of those in power to act justly and honorably, as their actions have a ripple effect on the well-being of others. In his Meditations, he famously said, "The best way to avenge yourself is to not be like that." In other words, instead of using your power to retaliate or harm others, rise above it and act with integrity. When we're in positions of power, whether as leaders, managers, or influencers, Stoicism encourages us to reflect on the ethical implications of our actions. Are we using our power to uplift others and serve the community? Or are we using it for selfish purposes, diminishing others to elevate ourselves? By keeping this question in mind, we ensure that our actions are aligned with the Stoic virtues of wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. For example, if you are in a leadership role, consider how your decisions impact your team. Do you empower them to grow, or do you make choices that benefit you at their expense? Ethical leadership, rooted in Stoic principles, not only helps create a positive environment but also cultivates respect and trust. It is not about controlling others but about guiding them with fairness and integrity. Ultimately, Stoicism teaches us that the power we hold is not meant for personal gain but for the service of others. When we use power in this way, we not only build stronger, more ethical communities but also find fulfillment in knowing we have acted in accordance with our values. Power, when wielded wisely, becomes a force for good, and we, as individuals, become a force of positive change in the world. 9. Excessive self-love. Excessive self-love can be one of the most damaging traits a person can have. It's the mindset where one's desires, goals, and needs are placed above all else, often without regard for the well-being of others. These individuals tend to see themselves as the center of the universe, constantly seeking validation, recognition, and success at any cost. Think about a colleague who constantly takes credit for group achievements without acknowledging the team, or someone who is always focused on their own gain, even if it means stepping over others to get ahead. This kind of behavior not only isolates them but also creates a toxic environment for everyone around them. Stoicism offers a powerful antidote to this excess of self-interest. Stoic philosophers, especially Marcus Aurelius, emphasized humility and the importance of community. In Meditations, Marcus reflects on the interconnectedness of all people, acknowledging that we are all part of a greater whole. The Stoics believe that personal fulfillment comes not from pursuing selfish desires, but from contributing to the well-being of others and living a life of virtue. This perspective teaches us that true success is not measured by how much we can take from the world but by how much we can give. Excessive self-love leads to a lack of empathy, as the individual becomes so consumed with their own success that they fail to recognize the value of others. Stoicism encourages us to balance our ambitions with a deep respect for others. It teaches us that the pursuit of our personal goals should never come at the expense of compassion or fairness. In fact, the Stoics believe that by helping others and considering their needs, we enrich our own lives. A person who only looks inward may achieve temporary success, but they miss out on the deeper, more meaningful connections that come from collaboration, understanding, and empathy. For example, in a work environment, imagine a person who always pushes for promotions, higher pay, and recognition, without considering how their actions impact the team. Their relationships with colleagues may become strained, as they are seen as selfish or manipulative. However, a Stoic approach would encourage them to ask themselves, how can I achieve my goals without stepping on others, and how can my success also contribute to the success of those around me? By focusing on shared goals and being mindful of the collective well-being, this individual would not only find more meaningful success but also foster a sense of unity and respect in their environment. In essence, Stoicism teaches us to cultivate a sense of humility, reminding us that we are part of something larger than ourselves. By practicing empathy, valuing the community, and balancing our ambitions with respect for others, we avoid the trap of excessive self-love. True fulfillment comes not from self-centered pursuits but from living a life rooted in virtue, humility, and connection with those around us. When we make others' needs as important as our own, we become not just successful, but wise and content. 10. Disregard for boundaries. Disregard for boundaries is a hallmark of individuals who seek to manipulate or control others for their own benefit. These people often push limits, disregarding the personal space, needs, and emotions of others in order to fulfill their own desires. Whether it's a colleague who constantly interrupts your work, a friend who demands too much of your time, or a partner who invades your privacy, this lack of respect for boundaries can be incredibly damaging. It erodes trust and creates a toxic environment where your needs and feelings are consistently overlooked. Stoicism offers a powerful guide in dealing with such individuals. One of the core principles of Stoicism is the idea of self-control and maintaining one's integrity in the face of external pressures. A Stoic person understands that they cannot control others' actions, but they can control their own responses. By setting and respecting personal boundaries, we ensure that we are protecting not only our emotional well-being but also our sense of self. In Stoic thought, boundaries are not just limits set for others, they are essential for maintaining peace of mind and preserving one's integrity in the world. For example, imagine you're in a relationship where your partner constantly disrespects your need for alone time or personal space. Instead of feeling resentful or frustrated, a Stoic approach would encourage you to calmly communicate your needs and set clear boundaries. By doing so, you are not only taking control of your own emotional health but also teaching the other person how to respect your boundaries. This isn't about being harsh or controlling, it's about ensuring mutual respect and maintaining a healthy relationship based on understanding and compassion. In a work setting, boundaries can be just as important. A colleague might frequently ask you to take on extra work or interrupt your personal time, causing unnecessary stress. Instead of getting upset or resenting them, a Stoic approach would involve calmly setting clear boundaries. For example, saying, "I'd love to help, but I need to focus on my current tasks right now," is a way of asserting your boundaries while maintaining professionalism. By doing so, you not only protect your time and energy but also maintain your peace of mind. Ultimately, the Stoic practice of boundary setting is about respecting your own limits and the limits of others. It's about creating space for self-care, preserving your integrity, and ensuring that your emotional health isn't compromised by the actions or expectations of others. When we allow others to overstep our boundaries, we risk losing control over our own lives, but when we assert our needs with calmness and clarity, we gain a sense of power and autonomy. This is the essence of Stoicism, protecting your peace by controlling what you can and setting clear, respectful boundaries. 11. Constant criticism. Constant criticism is a tactic often used by malicious individuals to undermine others and elevate their own sense of superiority. These people thrive on pointing out flaws and finding fault in everything, not to offer constructive feedback, but to bring others down. It can be deeply hurtful, especially when it targets our abilities, appearance, or character. The sting of such criticism can be overwhelming, but the Stoic approach teaches us a valuable lesson in how to handle it. According to Stoicism, we cannot control the actions of others, but we can control how we respond to them. Criticism, especially when it's unwarranted, is often a reflection of the critic's insecurities and not a true assessment of our worth. When faced with this kind of negativity, Stoicism advises us to remain indifferent, not letting it affect our peace of mind. Rather than engaging in an emotional reaction or trying to defend ourselves, we can practice detachment. By recognizing that we are not defined by others' opinions, we protect ourselves from the emotional impact of malicious criticism. For example, imagine receiving harsh comments from a colleague who constantly criticizes your work. Instead of responding defensively or internalizing their negativity, a Stoic approach would be to step back and assess the situation calmly. Ask yourself, is this criticism helping me grow? Is it a reflection of my values, or just an attack? If the criticism has merit, use it as an opportunity to improve. But if it's simply meant to bring you down, let it roll off your back. Stoicism teaches that our self-worth should not be dictated by external validation. In fact, the more we allow ourselves to be swayed by criticism, the more we lose touch with our true values. By focusing on our own path and sticking to what we believe in, we can build inner strength and resilience. Every time we face criticism and choose not to react emotionally, we reinforce our ability to remain centered, no matter what others say. Another example could be in a personal relationship, where a friend or partner constantly criticizes your choices. Instead of taking it personally, you could view their comments with compassion, understanding that their criticism might stem from their own issues or insecurities. At the same time, you maintain a firm boundary by not allowing their opinions to shake your confidence in your decisions. In the end, Stoicism teaches us that criticism is not about us, it's about the critic. Our response to it, whether we allow it to harm us or use it as fuel for growth, determines how much power it has over us. By staying focused on our own values, goals, and self-worth, we can rise above the constant barrage of criticism and live with greater peace and resilience. As we've explored today, constant criticism doesn't have to define us. Through the lens of Stoic philosophy, we can see that the key to handling criticism is not in how we defend ourselves, but in how we respond. By practicing detachment, focusing on our values, and seeing criticism as an opportunity to grow, we can maintain our peace and inner strength. Remember, it's not the criticism that shapes us, but our ability to choose how we react to it. If this video has helped you reframe how you approach negativity, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment below to share your thoughts or experiences with dealing with criticism. Let's continue this journey together and build a community of strength and resilience.